Hi everyone. Today's Robert Frost poem is Mending Wall. Now the topic of the poem is two neighbors who meet in the springtime to mend the wall. But what I think the poem and the poet is trying to tell us is to think for ourselves. It's a poem about critical thinking, not just accepting what someone hands to you. We'll chunk it up like we did with birches. Mending wall. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen-ground-swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. The work of hunters is another thing. I've come after them and made repair where they've left not one stone on stone, but they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dogs. The gaps, I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made, but at spring mending time, we find them there. So stone walls are a tradition in New England and New York State, and they very often divided properties. And sometimes they were practical in keeping animals on one side from the other, or they just marked a boundary because it was where farmers plowing would hit a rock, take the rock to the edge of their property. So these two neighbors have met at the wall to fix what something has done to the wall. We know it's frost with a lowercase f through the winter time because nature doesn't like walls. And as these men build one, every winter nature helps tear it down. But it's spring mending time, we find them there. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we meet to walk the line and set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go, to each the boulders that have fallen to each. And some are loaves and some so nearly balls we have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear our fingers rough with handling them. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game. One on a side, it comes to little more. There it is. There where it is, we do not need the wall. He's all pine, and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is the mischief in me. And I wonder if I could put a notion in his head, not put an idea or a thought, a notion, something to stir his thinking. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there bringing stone grasped firmly by the top in each hand, like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, it seems to me, not of woods only, in the shade of trees. He will not go behind his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it so well, he says again, good fences make good neighbors. Now maybe good fences do make good neighbors. I don't know, but it's something worth thinking about. And the eye of the poem wants the neighbor to think for himself. So he says, why do they make good neighbors? I could say elves to him, but I'd rather he said it for himself. I know a lot of you want to be teachers, and to me this line is the epitome of teaching. I could say elves to you, but I'd rather you said it for yourself. It's not my job to tell you what to think. It's my job to get you to think and hopefully set you on a course of lifetime thinking. Now, where did the neighbor who, well, frankly, the neighbor doesn't come off looking great in this poem. He moves in darkness, it seems to me. We want to move in light. Like an old stone savage armed. Not exactly complimentary. If you want to be introduced to someone, This is my friend Jim. He's kind of like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, it seems to me. No, that's not good. So the eye of the poem wants the neighbor to think, but he will not go behind his father's saying. What does it mean to go behind a saying? Well, you're looking behind it to see where it came from. Why is it that way? One of my favorite English professors, Professor Koenig, many years ago, who inspired me. She inspired me to become an English professor. She told a story when she taught this poem about a woman who every Easter bought a 6-pound ham and cut 2 pounds off and cooked 4. And her daughter said, "Well, why do you always do that?" And the woman said, "That's what my mother always did." So the girl went and asked Grandma why she always did that. Grandma said, "Well, the ham only came in 6 pounds when I was young, and I only had a pan that could hold 4, so I always cut 2 off." So there was no reason for the woman to keep doing it. However, if the woman wanted to keep doing it as a tribute to her mother, lovely. Tradition is fine, but it always needs to be questioned. Never do anything mindlessly. Go behind a saying. Why is it done this way? A lot of you have jobs, I'm sure. And I bet if it hasn't happened yet, it will someday. You'll be new to a job and you'll be there a few months and you'll say to the boss who's been there a long time, "Why do we do it that way?" And the boss will say, "Because we've always done it that way." Now that's not a good reason. And when that happens, I want you to get out this book, because I know you'll have it handy at all times throughout the rest of your life. I want you to get out this book and read Mending Wall to her or him. Well, maybe not. But I want the poem to at least come up your mind and say, this is that moment Berninger was talking about. Why do we do it this way? Because we've always done it that way. Maybe it is the best way, but think about it. Think anew. Times change. The neighbor, the old stone savage armed who moves in darkness, does not have a growth mindset that we're always trying to instill in our students. So Mending Wall is a terrific poem. It's quintessential New England, where stone walls, estimates are in New York and New England, there's 250,000 miles of stone walls, or at least there were. And by the way, if you're wondering, why would someone build a stone wall in the middle of the woods? Well, this wasn't always a woods. As old as that tree is, someone moved these stones here to clear the land to farm it or to make a boundary, and this was once fields for a farmer. So Mending Wall, it's about more than a wall. It's neither anti or pro-wall. I do think, though, it's about questioning the wall. Questioning the wall. If nature doesn't love it, maybe there's a reason we shouldn't have it. At least think about it.